Good evening, friends, and welcome back to Live Reality Games, the network of creators making our favorite shows into reality. I'm your host, Kirk, today, and we are with Colin from CNU. Welcome, buddy.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And we're going to be talking about episode 6, You Can't Hide on Survivor, the merge episode of this season. So we're going to be spoiling everything, my friends. So like always, if you haven't watched it yet, you might want to drop out now, come back later. But before you leave, hit that subscribe button, notification bell. That always helps us out here. I'm super excited to meet you, Colin, because I've watched bits and pieces of CNU. Dustin and Destiny covered the season. You're the editor of CNU. So, and I was just talking to you. You've never actually played the game.
No.
And your brother hosts.
Correct. Yep.
Do you ever think the two of you would ever play against each other in a Survivor?
I think that, it's something that we've always discussed about. I'm just growing up, we'd always be watching these Survivor and Big Brother shows and always just talking about how we would play, And half the time we'd say, okay, yeah, we'd play together and we would just destroy everyone. And other half the time we'd say, oh no, we'd play together and then we would just go after each other first. So really kind of would go either way, but I definitely could see something happening.
Oh, sweet. That's cool. I got to play with my brother once and it was super fun. And we had to turn at each other at the final four.
Okay, yep.
It was kind of brutal. So season 2 for CNU is airing right now. And is there anything we can expect to see?
You're right. So we had season 1 and season 2 aired previously. So season 3 actually just finished airing. Last week was the surprise last episode as it was filmed in the spring of 2020. So things came up that had to cause us to shorten the season and end it early. So we had season 3 was the final episode was last Tuesday. So that one is all out and ready to be watched if you want to go through and binge through 3 seasons of College Survivor. And we've got more seasons on the way. I believe next fall is going to be the season 4 is going to be starting to kick out.
Right on. I love when these keep going and get more and more episodes and seasons out, because then we'll see an all-stars someday.
Of course. That's always the goal, isn't it?
Right. For other LRG news, right quick before we get started, Backyard Survivor, our friends from Australia, one of our favorite hosting duos, Brian and Kyle, are back at it with their next season, Redemption. They brought back their first 3 vote-offs, and with them are 15 new players playing for the 4th season. So that sounds super exciting. And how cool for these players that were first boots to get a true redemption. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I think that's something that's always talked about, even just like, oh, how cool would a first boot season of CBS Survivor be? I know that's something that we've experimented with season 3. We did bring up the first ever boot from Survivor CNU, came back and really enjoyed the experience to kind of get a shot to say, okay, I had potential. I thought I would do well, but it didn't go as well as planned. So if they're still wanting to come back and do it again, they definitely want to prove that they're better than they did the first time. So interested to see how that one's going to be playing out.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty sweet. And then Ascendance Live were phenomenal guests the other night, and they're back for season 2. And if you happen to be fans of Totem Pole / Penthouse, Wes, the creator, was just announced as a player this season. So we get to see a host play the game. That's pretty exciting. So, so let's get into it, Colin. This is your first time here to talk about Survivor, CBS 42. What are your thoughts so far of the season?
I've really enjoyed the season. I was a little bit hesitant about last season with all the big changes that had happened. But I've really been enjoying the season. I think that having the familiarity of knowing what twists to expect to come up and not kind of be blindsided by what's going on this week of a brand new one, and also be able to see what is going on with what's going on with understanding, like seeing all these characters and getting a really good understanding of what's going on with these separate characters.
I've been totally digging it. I loved everything about this episode except for one thing.
What was that?
The freaking hourglass, of course. Like, I'm so annoyed. God. Yeah. I was trying to find an hourglass just so I could smash it myself, like one of the little timers from games, but I couldn't find it. Dustin, we have a new setup here. Dustin says my mic sounds a little funny. He's sneaking down right now, but it might be my voice. I have severe allergies right now, so my apologies if this sounds goofy. But that said, we're going to get right into it. Last episode, we see the aftermath of the Vati tribe.
Yes.
There's a little drama here.
So yes, to be expected with everything we've seen with Vati so far, with all of the Daniel and Chanel controversy, with everything that they tried to pull in the one where Jenny ended up going home. I think that both of them ended up losing a ton of trust there. So Chanel already went into that tribal council not having a lot and lost any that she may have had with Mike already.
Yeah, it's weird too, because she explains her vote very well in her confessional, but like he does not give her a chance to explain it whatsoever. And he's just over talking her. But at the same time, I felt like she wasn't exactly explaining it the same way she did in her confessional, which made sense. Her confessional, I was like, okay. And that's what my co-host said last week, because I couldn't figure out the strategy behind it until I remembered Shot in the Dark is still in the game. Idols are still in the game. Basically, these players are playing with like 50 iterations of the vote. You know, like there's so many different potential outcomes.
Yeah, and I think from Mike's side, he sees it as, okay, well, we went through the first tribal council. You kind of were a little bit shady there. I didn't love how that went, but then I went against my gut. I kind of trusted you a second time, and then it really happened again. So now it's like, okay, like, oh, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, now shame on me. So I'm not even going to give you the chance to get that third chance.
Dustin's in the background changing my microphone right now. It's like Big Brother is on my computer. This is so weird. Okay. And I love the quote she does. She like does the misquote of Shakespeare. I want to give Chanel some cred for that. That would have made a great title too. It was like, it's all fair in love in Survivor.
Right. Close.
Close. It's all right.
I feel like there were a couple of those, like you were close to the saying. I think at one point Roxroy later in the episode said, it's either the devil you do or the devil you don't. And it's like, well, it's kind of what it's saying, but it's close. It's close enough.
Yeah. And then I've been high on Hai, but I was so annoyed because I felt like he was regurgitating quotes from prior tribal councils, like so much. Like we even had to look up one. One is pretty much exactly from Winners at War, which is what he would have watched right before he came out here. So I'm like, dude, come on.
Yeah, and I think he said the same thing at this tribal council with like everything, the passengers and the drivers there, trying to use those same quotes. He does have a couple. He came prepared, knowing what buttons to hit.
To be or not to be. Lydia is not to be.
Apparently, yep.
Not anymore. Lydia is voted out this episode, and we are going to be breaking down exactly maybe how that happened. It's a crazy twist. Again, Jeff Probst switches it up. We'll get there really quick. We go to Ika right after this, and Tori thinks Rox has a clue. This dynamic between Rox and Tori in this whole episode is just awkward to say the best, because they're like not working together, and then she's hugging him at the challenge, but it looks like he doesn't want to hug her back. It's just awkward. Yeah, Snyder's in the comments. He still is standing Tori. He thinks she'll win. I think there's no chance.
Yeah, I went into this episode and I wrote down, okay, I think anyone besides Roxroy can win. I just feel like Roxroy had a lot of content out. He's not great at the social game. After this episode, I feel like there are more people in that bucket of people who cannot win. And now I think Tori has joined up with them. I think that everything we've seen from this episode took her out of the runner contenders for me.
Drea has her eye so on Tori. Like
she cannot wait to pull that trigger.
She's like, she can't chill. Tori keeps slipping by. But the thing is, like, Tori legitimately, like, to give her some credit, she made that happen. Like, she worked both of those votes to get herself off at the blocks. So she deserves to be here.
Oh, definitely. And I do wonder I don't know if Drea would say it, but I do wonder if at this point she is regretting voting out Swati instead of Tori specifically. If she feels like that one was a mistake, I wonder if that is the case now.
You know, that's true. I feel like Swati could have done some damage right here at Merge. If she was at this twist, I feel like she could have made more inroads than Tori potentially here.
Yeah, I think that could be too.
So I don't know. Maybe in the long run it was better. We shall see. I mean,
you're right.
What if Tori's the GOAT? Right? It becomes like
so
unlikable. She's brought to the end. Maybe she can't win, but she steals your spot at
Right.
the end. Yeah. I think already, we are already at Jeff Probst's iconic Applebee's monologue.
Right. They're ready for it. They're ready for this Applebee's, bringing that one back too. That's the big change for this Hourglass twist, is to get a sponsor.
Right? They should have put Applebee's like on the hourglass, like just written on it.
Yes, to have it all over the place. You have it all over the challenge, have it everywhere.
So yeah, we get a Jeff Probst breaking the fourth wall. By this point last season, this had happened like 12 times.
Right.
But I believe this is our first one.
I think so too. I don't. It blends together. If like he went and hid an idol, I think that was only last season. I don't think he went and like we saw him hide the idol again this time. So I do think this might have been the first time we saw him do this.
Yeah, and it was interesting because it was again right before they started filming the tribes, because they're literally walking in
Right.
as it happens. So I'm like, are they hearing this? Can they hear anything?
And I mean, Jeff's gotta have a lot of confidence there, because like if he messes up, there's not a lot of time for them to be like, okay, hold on, guys, don't walk in yet. Jeff messed up. He has to say something again. Like he's got to be very confident that we only got one shot.
And so for this historic merge twist, I'm like, we just did it.
Right. It's historic for the 12 of them, and that's about it.
Okay, fair enough. He says it's the same twist with variables. And I still don't freaking get it. I get it, but it was so weird.
It was.
Like, okay, so what did he say? So they get better.
Variable one is it's
Applebee's, better food.
Yep. Variable 2 was that they're going to know that whoever goes to the exile island is going to have some sort of power, where it was a secret when they sent Erica last time. I was so lost when he was explaining variable 3, but it seems that it's just if someone wanted from the winning tribe to go over to exile instead, they could do it.
So in other words, if they gave, so it almost makes it feel a little bit better for them, right? Because they had the option.
Exactly.
It's just, this is what I hate. It's the biggest challenge of the season. He keeps hyping it up, and then the challenge is irrelevant again.
You want to lose this challenge.
I don't care if we're demonetized in this video. Fucking irrelevant. There is no point. And it's the best challenge. It's literally so freaking good. I get so mad at Survivor for such stupid stuff, and this one I'm so mad. It is literally so good. Oh, what did Dustin say? Oh, instead of a rolling ball, it's a giant apple. It's okay, but here's the thing. It's the same. This episode is also the same freaking challenges from 41.
Yeah. They think that they worked the first time. Why change it?
Why change it? You know, so we don't really have to recap much or break it down if you watch 41, but to break it down, they had to dig a giant ball out of the dirt.
Right.
It was much easier this season than last.
Especially if you had Jonathan on your tribe, yes.
Oh my gosh. They barely did anything, and he's just like popped it out like a pimple. He's just like, Bloop, let's go.
This is like a workout for him. He does this every day at the gym.
Yeah, and then they have to, climb up it, get keys, then climb up these like American Ninja Warrior, like
the little
hill things. Yeah. Absolutely a Jonathor.
Right.
But what I really loved was not the I forget the colors of the tribes, not Jonathan's group, but the other group at the end, how hard it was for Drea.
Right.
She's scraping up her knees. She keeps falling down. And then they had to keep working together to figure out the best way to solve that. That's what I think the whole point of that challenge was. But because they cast Jonathan.
Right. It kind of changed the whole thing. Like, I feel like in theory, when they thought of this challenge, they were like, exactly what Mike did in this challenge is what they felt would be the hero is, okay, he's the guy who's always the ladder. He's pulling everyone up. He's coming up with the strategy to say, Romeo, you go last. And like, I feel like that is what they envisioned as the hero for this challenge. But then Jonathan just being able to pretty much barely use the ball, just kind of jump up there on his own without it, really kind of changed the purpose of it.
So let's give the people at home a breakdown of the different tribes. So what we had, friends, have a little. So we have Hai, Lydia, Tori, Jonathan, and Marianne. playing against Drea, Mike, Romeo, Omer, and Chanel. With Roxroy and Lindsay drawing the gray rocks, they decide and opt to put Lindsay on their tribe and send Rox to the island. You know, I really felt, Colin, that this was a really quick decision that they made, and that I was surprised that they didn't want it to be 2-2-2, and that they would allow one of the tribes to have 3 members.
I think that a lot of it just came down to, I think you had, who was it, Jonathan and Marianne in that group pitching, hey, I want to have Lindsay over here. And Hai, because of the whole amulet twist, I think is fine with Lindsay being there since they're kind of connected in that way. Whereas the only one who has any sort of connection to Roxroy would be Tori. And I wouldn't be surprised if Tori was in there saying, I don't want Roxroy over here at all.
That makes a lot of sense, because maybe this amulet can turn into something. Maybe we can use it to better ourselves. But doesn't it suck? I mean, it's just like the worst power.
Right. I think it's, yeah, there's a lot. I think that they're trying to incentivize you to be like, ooh, is it worth voting out to get this huge change of like, oh, you originally have the extra vote and it's going to turn into a steal a vote. But like, aren't those pretty much like, there's not much of a substantial difference between the two of them in terms of how powerful they are. So I think that it's much more of a, if it were me, I would not vote out one of them just to get a slightly more increased power. Just because at that point, it's so easy for them to just say, well, I'm going to vote you out so I can get the idol. So, yeah, I think that there's a lot of tinkering that can be done with this amulet to get it right.
I think so, too. I feel like the one vote for 3 people just doesn't work.
No.
It'll never work. So
No.
what's the point?
Right.
Right?
And I guess they have to agree on who this extra vote is?
Or do they
each
all give the key to the same person?
Right.
It doesn't even make sense how you play it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's it is confusing, and I completely forgot it existed until I think Drea mentioned it last week. But it is very easy to forget this is even a thing.
So it's very easy to figure out how you would play it when there's one key left.
Yes.
It's just an idol, right?
Right.
Isn't it a key? Didn't Hai show us it's a key?
I think I think that it might be a key. That sounds right. It's something similar to that.
Why did they call it an amulet then?
A lot of the symbolism, I mean, they're using an hourglass and saying that, okay, to reverse time, you have until the morning, when like an hourglass, its function is to count time. So they're just waiting, like it should be, we'll flip the hourglass over and you have until the hourglass is empty to smash it, rather than just let it lay here on its side. It's a lot of like questionable functions of what they're using.
Yeah. And of course, everybody's talked about the dice.
The dice.
Yeah, makes no sense.
No.
Just weird choices.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's a key. So they should be opening something. Oh my God, this is a great idea. There's 3 boxes at Tribal Council. One has 3 locks, one has 2 locks, one has 1 lock. And I don't know. There's only the box with 3 locks if the 3 keys are present in the game. So I don't know. This could be at least a little more interesting, because if you have 1 key, you play it as an idol. Makes sense. If you have 2, I guess the 2 of you at Tribal Council just like stand up and go, we're using our keys on Colin. We're stealing his vote.
And then we are going to go up to the voting booth together and write down a name together.
Yeah, that makes no sense. And then for the extra vote, that makes even less sense. Can you imagine 3 people being like, we all have a key, and now we have an extra vote, 1 extra vote.
See you later.
So we get to write down 1 letter each. Like,
I hope that they use it beforehand, but then like a piece of paper is just cut up 3 ways, and you have just to write, like, you write the first 2 letters, you write the next 2, and you got to hope that it matches up and you write the same name.
Yeah, that's fun. Or they all have to hold on to the pen at the same time, and they can like fight to write something down.
Right. Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Jeff Probst is like trying to read the scribbles.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just messy, and that's what I don't like about it. I don't mind the shot in the dark because it comes out cleaner in the gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't see how it functions, and I bet the players are even like, how?
Yeah, I feel like there has to be a lot of questions to production of like this. What am I supposed to do? And I think that there's just this added complication. Like if you have it, like, okay, I guess we'll just stick together and just like, this is now an alliance. I don't care what the power is, because it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I wonder if that maybe is even the true. I forgot about that twist.
Oh God!
Get ready. 3 weeks from now, we're gonna be seeing it.
Oh no. So does this mean there is no knowledge is power advantage? Because that was found before the merge.
Right. Yeah, because that was what Liana and Shan went on to their
Yeah.
own. So that would have been like like Chanel and Omer, if they had that would have been about that time frame. I feel like. So yeah, I do feel like they took that. I wonder if they feel like what happened with Liana and Xander there is kind of best case scenario. That like I feel like that's what they wanted, so they kind of scrapped it. It's not getting any better.
Yeah, that's true. Because there was also another advantage that wasn't found last season.
Oh, was there?
Yeah, there was one at a challenge.
Okay. Oh, I feel like I vaguely remember that.
Yeah. So maybe that's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe that was an amulet clue. I don't know. Here's it, Colin. I looked something up on the voting history of this season. This is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Before tonight's episode, how many votes in total, including tied rounds, have been cast?
Ooh.
Or how many total should have been cast, I guess, is a better term.
So it would be what? Quick math. So 17 plus another. So probably about 27, I feel like it would be going into tonight.
That should be correct. But because there were multiple ties and resulting votes, the total is 38. Get this. Out of all 38 votes cast, 9 of them were no votes that did not get cast. 24% of the pre-merge vote was not able to vote. What?
Yeah.
What is this game?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's wild. So yeah, I mean, if you think of it that way, risking your vote is, I mean, it's super risky, especially when it ties the way it plays out in Survivor. It is just, I don't think you should do it.
No.
Unless you know, don't do it with a Chanel. Like, oh man, Omer's probably so annoyed with her.
Right. Like if you know you've got like Jenny there, I feel like that's the time to do it. Or if you know someone who, that's the time when you would be able to risk it. It's like, okay, I know this person's not going to do anything crazy.
We have Applebee's.
Yeah, they're ready for it. Yeah, get the shark bowls back and all the brownie and the couple types of burgers.
I went on a date once to Applebee's. It was terrible food.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I feel like that's usually is like it's fine. Like, but I guess if you're out there, I think it's what they said, 12 days or something.
Yeah.
Then haven't eaten anything. So okay.
People are gonna hate me in the comments. They're gonna be like, oh, "I love Applebee's." I didn't like it.
It's your local Applebee's, maybe. Maybe it's just that one. Not all Applebee's are the same. So,
did you notice what John said his normal meal is?
I noticed it about halfway. And once he started talking about what his normal meal is, I was like, okay, I was half paying attention at that point. But then I believe he said 18 eggs was the only thing I picked up on.
That's enough right there.
Yeah, that's insane.
18 eggs. He needs an entire chicken farm.
Yeah, I mean, he has to live at the grocery store. Like, how do you have 18 eggs a day?
And let's add on to these 18 eggs, 9 cheese slices and grits.
Unspecified amount though, so we don't know how much. He could even be more grits than anything else.
Yeah. This dude is a monster.
Yeah. If you want to be good at Survivor challenges, eat 18 eggs a day and 9 slices of cheese.
This is why he has to go out fishing. He's probably running out of steam.
Yeah.
Like he needs fuel. It's great. And then, so we're there. And so they're kind of bonding. And there's Tori just literally spewing all the secrets. Mm-hmm. Just everything anyone ever told her.
Yeah. Tori saw this as, okay, I have no alliances. This is my way to get an alliance I don't care about any of those people. So I'm going to throw them all under the bus and let them know, take me. I need to go somewhere. I need some people.
You know, I'm just thinking back now, talking about Tori, I'm just thinking back to how she was so irritated at Roxroy. Mm-hmm. But right before, when they were saying, hey, it's Applebee's, Tori was like screaming and hugging him and so excited. And then she was like,
yep,
not so much. I mean, we're not there yet, but I just think it's ironic.
It is. That relationship is so strange. They'll yell at each other and then she's just going to go for the hug all the time.
So I can't think of anything else from the feast at all that was interesting.
Nothing really. No.
No,
That's about
it's
it.
honestly, it's not that interesting. But they got Applebee's and they got brownies, and they love the brownies.
They did. It didn't look like a lot of the drinks were being had, but I don't know. I'm no great measure of that. So
Yeah, they had some kind of like margarita or like blue frosty something.
Yeah.
Is Marianne old enough to drink? Is she 21? She seems so young.
I think so. I don't.
I can't remember.
I
to be
can't
honest.
either. I feel like she and Lydia were like right on the edge.
Yeah. I couldn't remember if she was drinking. I'm just trying to imagine Marianne like drinking and being more excitable than she already is.
Right. Yeah, that's all she needs. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's where some of that gusto is coming in the next couple clips, because Marianne was talking to everybody.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, this girl's in trouble.
I was too.
Okay. So yeah, so they take us back to we see the 5 that are starving, or the 6 that are five that are starving.
Roxer's on his own.
That's right. So this was interesting because Drea calls the twist out.
Yes. Having an idea of what production might do, especially in a season where there's going to have a lot of twists, having a good read on production is an underrated skill to have as a player, so that you can kind of gauge what's going to happen.
Yeah. And then it seems like they all just agreed that was the twist, and nobody was really actually surprised, because it seems like all of their conversations after that fact were based on this initial premise that Drea posited. And I'm like, this girl is so smart. She's literally wickedly, her premonitions, she's everything. She's just ticking all the little marks for Survivor.
Right. I think that what's interesting is that they kind of used what they added in this season with that second one of letting the second twist to the new merge challenge there, of letting the players know that there's going to be some power, and like double checking, like, are you sure none of you want to do it? I think in production's mind, their intention was, okay, the winning tribe, we're going to let them know that there's some big power thing that might come back to bite them. But they didn't consider that the losing tribe is just going to take that same information and say, well, what could that be? And that's really one of the only main things that there could be. So I think that was a really good read on Drea there, to think, why would he be pushing to say, like, almost say, you should go do this?
Drea and Mike at this point start putting out Chanel and Tori's names as targets, and Romeo's just sitting there talking about how he's a skeleton.
Yes. Yep.
It's like
different priorities.
I don't understand. I don't totally grasp Romeo's strategy in this episode. I was trying to figure it out. I think I wrote down little person. I mean, he kind of used that word, like little person alliance.
Okay, bring all the underdogs together, I think was his goal, to take out some of the big challenge threats. But
yeah, we're not there yet. I'm jumping ahead because his arguments just don't fly, because I don't perceive Tori, who ends up winning immunity, as like one of the bigger people.
Right. And I also don't consider like Drea, his likely number one ally, as one of the littler people either. I feel like she's more of a challenge. I would put her in the upper tier of challenge threats in my mind.
True. I just feel like modern Survivor, when we get to the individual portion, rarely matters anymore.
No. Right.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
So we're on the same page. So it seems like this game is becoming so counterintuitive, like because you need Jonathan to win everything up into the merge, but then like he's actually probably not going to be a threat in the challenges moving forward after that fact.
Right.
Very often.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to it later, but I think that's very much a point that Lindsay was trying to make at that argument of, he seems more threatening than he is right now for this portion of the game.
So should we be taking out the big guys before the merge now instead of at the merge? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you'd have to really time it right, of like knowing, okay, this is probably the last one, because if you were to take Jonathan out, like you're probably going to lose that next challenge if there is one. If you're wrong about the merge, you have to be prepared of, okay, who's the next one after him?
And now all he's doing is like setting himself up in a potential alliance just to get himself deeper. And then he might, I mean, Danny went really far not winning anything.
Yep.
After the merge, he won everything up to the merge, and then it was like, then did he win one immunity? I think
he won. Yeah, I think he won like this immunity was the one that he ended up winning. I think.
Oh yeah, you're right. I think you're right. Hey, perfect little
Right, full
roundabout, full circle there. So what did you think about Roxroy's journey on his exile trip for 2 days?
I thought it was interesting. I mean, like Jeff said, I thought the shelter was really nice for a one-person shelter to build it in kind of one day. I guess what Tori said about Roxroy only caring about the shelter really is true, that was a great shelter. But I thought it was an interesting journey and kind of put it in a different perspective of kind of why he's playing a little bit differently than everyone else, it seems. It seems like he's a lot less focused on the social game and a lot more focused on the survival aspect of it. And it was interesting to kind of get that backstory behind it.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible watching him build a really nice shelter, just doing the actual survival things out there.
Mm-hmm.
He had that moment where he said, there's a rule in firewood. Whenever you have some, double it.
I wasn't aware of this rule, but I'm not a big camper, so that might be the rule.
Yeah, I was like, it just shows his work ethic. And that was confirmed by multiple people throughout this episode. They were saying things like, all he cares about is shelter and fire. And it's like, okay, this actually might help you, Rox, because people are not going to see you as a strategist, which is probably going to be more of a threat at this juncture in the game.
Right.
I like it. What I loved, I actually liked this journey better than Erica's by far. And I was coming into it hating it from the start. I did not realize Roxroy had an issue with his sight, with his vision.
Right.
I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever mentioned.
Okay, this was a beautiful setup. I'm glad Survivor didn't give it to us. So Roxroy, in his confessional, we kind of get some more backstory, and he tells us about surgery on both of his eyes, how it's a progressive disease, and the way he words it is just so beautiful. And I wish people, it makes you think, can I live my life like this? But he's enjoying that sunset, right? The metaphor of how beautiful it is. The sun is setting, just like the sun is setting on this game, just like the sun is setting on his health of his eyes. I mean, there was just so much metaphor there. I found it completely beautiful. It's those moments in Survivor that I live for.
Right. And I think it was definitely, it was really good. And I think that a lot of it helped by that we already had some like background knowledge, a little bit knowing like, okay, this is what other people perceive Roxroy as. And we had a little bit of understanding of this is what Roxroy is as a character. And then this added a complete wrinkle to it as to kind of explain why he is that way. Whereas to compare it to last season with Erica, I feel like her journey here was that was our introduction to Erica. We very rarely saw her before this. And this was kind of like, okay, this is almost a brand new character to us. So this is like the beginning of her journey, where this is almost the explanation behind what we have already seen from Roxroy.
Absolutely. It's almost like dramatic irony. Like we've seen this person and we've seen their actions, but we're now getting, or almost like reverse dramatic irony, because now we're getting the explanation of why they are the way that they are.
Definitely.
And now I can sympathize with him, but before I couldn't as much.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I went into the saying Roxroy, he just doesn't have any social game. He's the only one who cannot win. I think that everything with that journey there definitely bumps up his chances as a winner candidate.
Is there any chance in hell that he doesn't smash the hourglass?
No, I never bought it for a second that he was. I mean, the choices were, okay, choice A, you and your two closest allies are safe, and your number one enemy is not safe, or you and all your allies might go home. About a 50% chance one of them is going to go home, and Tori is safe. Like, it doesn't really seem like much of a choice.
Is there any way this twist can be fixed? Is there any way that in other words, is there a chance you don't smash it? Is it just based on the shakeup maybe of the tribes? Like,
yeah, I think there's a chance. Like, I think that if Drea and Romeo had won that challenge, I think there's a chance Roxroy doesn't smash it. I still wouldn't say it's super likely, but I think there is a chance. But I think the twist is going in with like a 90% chance of this is getting smashed, at least, probably.
Yeah. And that's what makes it so weak, right? Like it has to be closer to 50-50. It has to make the challenge at least slightly relevant, because it's a great challenge, and then poof, doesn't matter.
Right.
I don't think Jonathan was totally impressed. He looked a little irritated at the result, but then he was smiling seconds later. So maybe somebody told a joke, but I mean, there definitely wasn't the same bitterness that you could feel from 41.
Right. And I think watching it from my side, I was like, okay, What is probably going to happen here, whichever team gets Jonathan is probably just going to win this challenge. And then the hourglass is probably going to get smashed. And then Jonathan's going to be up. I went into this episode saying there's about a 50% chance Jonathan's going home just because he's the biggest threat. He's the biggest guy there. He'll probably win the challenge, but then have to compete when the hourglass gets smashed. So I was not feeling great for Jonathan going in.
Same. I was not. That was my prediction 100%. Was like, no way. No way.
Right.
Like this dude is not, it's going to win. He's going to go to tribal. Like it has to be this way. So we get back to camp and the amulets come together. We get to see them have a conversation. And Hai, I just feel like Hai is not 100% in. I did not get that feeling from him that I mean, they start to make an alliance, but I just felt his vibe felt off during the conversation. Like he even said out loud to them, like maybe the tactic is to vote each other off. And I felt like maybe that's something better left unsaid.
Right. I think he's going to approach it as, okay, if I want to work with them, this is the route I'm going to take. But this amulet is not going to stop me from working with whoever I want to work with. If my group comes together and we want to take out Drea in the next vote or two, that's just what we're going to have to do. I'm not going to try and protect her for this amulet. And part of that might just be because of what we discussed earlier of the amulet twist not really being that advantageous.
Yeah, it's just awkward.
Mm-hmm.
So they're stuck in this awkward, like 3-person fake amulet alliance. And
right.
It's like, it's probably.
I feel like each one of them kind of went in like hoping that, I hope 1 or 2 of them get voted out before the merge. So it's I don't have to do anything here.
I bet it was very easy to lie about that advantage too, because you could show people it and you could say anything you want and your tribe would have no idea.
Right.
But if any of them had done that, now would be the point where everybody could cross-reference that. And I really wonder if the 3 of them have kept this secret. Like, I don't think we've seen anyone else talk about this yet.
No, I feel like they have kept it secret because I feel like a lot of it just because they all got these in that first challenge. So I think that they would be scared of the blowback of you did this like day 1, you did this immediately.
That's crazy because if this is true, I think this is the longest kept secret ever on Survivor.
And for 3 people to do it at the same time, not tell anyone. Yeah.
Especially modern Survivor. like secrets, like people who can keep secrets. That's why I think Tori made such a bad gameplay at Applebee's. At Applebee's. Because I felt like the flip side to her telling secrets is like, oh, if I tell you a secret, you're probably gonna go tell somebody and fuck my game up.
Looking at the other twists in the game, like there's 3 idols out there that most everyone knows who has each of the idols because of the phrases. You've got a couple extra votes out there, which Drea ends up telling a few people about her extra vote. So it really is pretty easy to just let all these things go. No one's talking about the amulets here.
I know. It's crazy. And you're right. There's already so many other powers. Like I think, let me count back up. I think there's 8 advantages in the game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8. Mm-hmm. So minus the 3 amulets, there's 5 advantages that should be pretty well known.
Right.
And to spoil it for everybody, none of these get flushed. In fact, I don't even think that's a strategy of the players to flush these at all.
I think that was part of the pitch to get Marianne out, but I'm not sure. Looking at the votes, I'm not sure how much traction that plan actually had.
Yeah, it was totally part of the pitch, but it did not stick. People did not care. And I'm like, okay, you're down to 11 people. Pretty soon these are going to get very powerful.
Right.
Very powerful.
Almost a third of the people there are going to have an idol pretty soon. So
and then we see Marianne talking to everybody.
Yes.
That was a little messy. I felt like she was just going from maybe that's how you got to play Survivor these days, but she was working everybody. I almost had a brief a flashback to Russell Hantz in episode 1 of Samoa, where he's literally going up to every person and having that quick one person, you're with me, you're with me, you're with me. And it's everybody this episode is doing that. In modern Survivor, I don't know how you believe anybody
Right. And I think that especially like I think that two people who I noticed especially do that would be Marianne and Mike, who are the two that really stood out to me as kind of going out to connect with everybody. And I think that just their demeanors have come off in a different way. Like Marianne is always very energetic with everything. So I think that it could seem like a lot, like, okay, she's doing so much right now and connecting with everyone, but that's probably just the way that she connects, but that might not be the way that everyone else wants to connect. Whereas Mike is very much low key, is just laying down on the beach talking to Jonathan, or is just hanging out with Hai and just talking with him there, and is just in a much more laid back way of trying to connect with everyone that I found impressive.
I'm trying to remember when who was it? Romeo and Hai had their conversation. I don't think I took notes on it. Was that around here?
That sounds about right. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that was another beautiful moment.
Yes.
That I think the episode kind of harkens back to a couple times after it happened. So both of the men talk about what it's like being gay, but Romeo lives a more closeted, maybe is the best word to use, or he's less comfortable with it.
Right.
I think is the word, with where he's from, who his family is, just the culture around him, and Hai seems very open about it, and Romeo's admires this about Hai, and I found this to be a really striking, another really beautiful moment on Survivor where they're not talking strategy and they're just being humans.
Yeah, I think that this is like a note that the production team and the editors of Survivor took of like after season 40 when they had that break to be able to say, okay, let's take a look and almost like reinvent what we're doing here. And I think they heard the criticism that, okay, there's too many twists, there's too much focus on the twists. We don't get to know these characters at all. Like we know nothing about any of these people in those later 30 seasons. There's so many people we know nothing about that even made it very far in the game. And I think that's something they have made a strong effort to say, okay, we are going to make that shift and make it a much more character-focused show so you have a good understanding of who most of these players are.
Yeah, and I'm here for it. I absolutely agree. I love it. And you know what I really loved? I loved a 2-hour episode.
Yes.
Dude, that was, even if it was, I mean, there was a lot going on, but I felt like they showed us everything. Like we could almost choose, like, is this the right path that's going to happen? Or is this the right path that's going to happen? I felt like, I don't know. I wish we saw more in all the episodes.
Right. I mean, I think this was the biggest change from last season, because last season, this was only one episode and we ended with the cliffhanger of, oh, is Erica going to smash the hourglass?
Oh, that's right.
That's how it is. So I think they said, okay, we can't do that again because that really is not a good cliffhanger. We all know how that's going to go.
No, I remember coming on for the episode. I actually have my notes. And now let me look to nobody's. Oh, I was so irritated. There was literally, usually I write pages of notes. I had like front and back for the merge. There was nothing to say. I was like, okay. Like, and my guest who was on, we were like, we don't know what to talk about.
She's going to smash it next week. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, pretty much. It was all speculation. We get a little brief clip of everybody out at the beach, and the audio is terrible, which is weird for Survivor. Did you notice that?
It was a little bit off. Yeah, I did notice.
Yeah, I guess when I say terrible, it's all hyperbole, but it was off, which is like, that never happens.
Yeah.
But we saw the brief clip that they chose to show us, and they chose to use a poor audio clip, which I thought, this is striking. But it was between Mike and John.
Right.
Jonathan. I just call him John because I don't want to write his name down every time.
I did the same thing. I have him John everywhere.
Yeah. So we see the I guess bigger guys kind of aligning together. Earlier we saw the littler people aligning together, but really theirs was not strategic, where we saw the littler people just talking about strategy, and we see them like coming together on this real, I guess it might be strategy, but talking about how you're perceived, right? More than just about like who's the next vote. Jonathan, yes, Snyder. Jonathan. Again, it was a nice moment.
It was, yeah. And I think Mike was really impressive, like I said before, with a lot of different connections that he went and made in this episode. I was really impressed with Mike. I mean, even from the beginning when Jeff was talking about like, okay, everyone drop your buffs. Mike was the one to clarify, like, okay, is this technically the merge? You can see he's seen some seasons of Survivor to know that Jeff has pulled some things like this where he says, okay, everyone drop your buffs, you're together, but you're not technically merged. We've seen instances of that. So I think Mike was and doing a great job of connecting with people. I know I've seen a lot of in Survivor CNU and all the college drivers that I've seen. One of the like consistent traits in really great players is being able to connect with others very quickly. And I feel like that's something Mike really showed today and was able to really get a lot of different connections, even in conversations that weren't including him. It was, oh, I really like Mike as well, and I want Mike included here. So I feel like Mike did a fantastic job in this episode, even though he may have lost someone who he saw as one of his top allies that I believe he said he was willing to take a bullet for at the beginning of the episode. He made a lot of other allies by doing so.
Yeah, I'm loving Mike's game. Mike reminds me of my stepdad, like his personality. Like, and it's so funny because he tells us like terrible dad jokes, and then he's like laughing at them himself, and it's just like it's so endearing to me. I just love the dude. So it's day 13 now. Can you believe it? It's only day 13.
It's only day 13. Yeah.
It's like, dude, I've played a couple Survivor games, like actually 2 of them that were 7 to 8 days long. So I'm like, oh my God, I almost made the merge.
Right.
Like I wasn't that hungry, and like we didn't have much food. Like, like I can do this shit. Like,
right. Yeah. And you didn't even get Applebee's there. So you were, yeah.
Yeah. Although at the end of the game, we did win Taco Bell.
Okay. Yep.
No, that was a terrible thing.
Oh, that was not that wasn't a reward. That was the punishment. Yeah.
That was a punishment the next day. So, don't take the Taco Bell reward, people.
Right.
Okay. So anyways, oh, I forgot about this. This is where the Romeo and Hai moment happens. And Romeo gets the quote of the episode, which I was like, okay, is this telling us something? Are the little people going to go further? Because he says, you can't hide on Survivor. Initially, before this episode started, I was really pissed about this quote because I was like, of course you can hide on Survivor. That's a legitimate, great strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sandra literally hide in the bushes.
Right.
Like Tony Vlachos. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I don't understand. But then what he's actually referring to is you can't hide who you are.
Right.
And this keeps coming back. I mean, it's a beautiful episode for like theme because
Absolutely.
This comes back at Tribal Council as well.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, they talk about it again later on in Tribal, like you said. Yeah.
I don't know about that. Was Erica a lion?
If she called herself a lion, I believe at the end. So,
yeah.
I don't know if I would have described her gameplay as like a lion now.
Didn't we get an animal? Somebody called themselves an animal. Omer called themselves a shark jumping out of the water.
That's right. Yep, he did.
I feel like there might have been one more, but he's for sure a shark. And when he said that, I was like, yeah, right. but folks, but yeah, but wait, it's so good. It's so good. And I didn't expect it of him at all. Especially coming from a 30-year-old virgin. Right. Not to say anything about virgins. Virgins are cool. But I don't know. I was surprised about that. I haven't met a 30-year-old virgin in a long time, maybe never, actually. That I don't know about. Right. Also, just to out yourself on Survivor that way, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like for his marriage, but it's not just for his marriage. That's his lifestyle, he said. So I was like, wow, okay, cool. I don't even know why I brought that up. I found it fascinating in the episode.
Right, yeah. More character story. Like we said, we really are getting to know these characters.
Who was he talking to when he said that? Was it Mike?
He was talking to Mike, yeah.
Again.
More connections for Mike.
Mike. Again, connecting on a real level, not coming across as threatening. Mm-hmm. And I think Rox is going to have potential coming out of this episode too, especially with the way he was edited.
Right.
We shall see.
We shall see, because we'll also talk about his vote, because I'm not quite sure what happened with his vote there.
Oh, I'm actually still confused about who voted who. So.
I have written down who voted for who. I have that part.
Oh, awesome. Very cool. So this is where Omer also realizes he has no vote, and he's so not happy with Chanel.
Yes. And then Chanel even then goes and tells him, like, yeah, Chanel does not bring up that he's not going to have a vote in this tribal council. Like, she's still like, okay, yeah, we're going to work together here, just like we said, right? Like, everything is the same. I was confused by Chanel in this. Like, I don't know where Chanel thinks these numbers are for her, of if she still feels good about Mike and Hai and Lydia, or if she thinks, like, I'm not so sure where Chanel sees herself fitting in.
Yeah, right. Like clearly she wants to sit with the certain cool kids club, but they keep leaving the lunch table every time she sits down.
Yes.
I felt so bad for her, but at the same time, I was like, girl, you gotta work other people at this point. Like, to go up to a group of pretty much the same people. And then it was so funny because Hai was like, don't go. Because last time she came, we all went spearfishing. And it was like seconds. And they're like, we need to go spearfish.
Yeah. And I mean, it looked like this time he was even like calling her over. They talked for about 15 seconds and then they all just left.
And okay, she looks so irritated and so mad.
Absolutely.
Even walking up to them, she just looks unpleasant at this time. Like Chanel.
I think she went up to this conversation knowing I'm going to go up there and then they're all going to start leaving in 20 seconds. So she was already annoyed to begin with.
I can't remember who she was talking to. But I remember she was saying, like, they won't look at my eyes. But girl, I've got to tell you, your eyes are daggers. She was like,
right.
I would have been like, I can't look into your eyes either right now. Like, she was on something. Right. She was not feeling it. She was not vibing with people. People were not vibing with her.
No.
And I think there's time for her to change that still. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've seen Chanel and Tori just kind of like scraping by, but
right.
And what's sad is like they're from our community, you know, like Tori's played a live game. Chanel's from orgs. It's like, girls, come on.
Yeah, I feel like what the issue is, because I mean, I don't think that Chanel's going to be able to rekindle things with, I mean, like at this point, just Hai and Mike. I think that's going to be a struggle. I really think that the Omer thing is really going to bite her. I don't know, think she's going to be able to go up with that group. Her only choice is the former, I don't know the tribe names, but the former Blue tribe of the Drea, Romeo, Roxroy group. But then that would also kind of exclude Tori at that point. So I think that she's really struggling at this point. That she's got real damage control to do one way or the other, whichever way she decides to go.
And while she does that, she has to navigate all of these advantages that other people got.
Which she has none, yes.
Yeah. I mean, to get to the top of this mountain is going to be the hardest journey for Chanel.
Yep, definitely.
But I feel like if she's sitting there and doesn't look at people with daggers in her eyes, maybe there's a shot. Maybe if she's sitting next to Tori.
That's a good first step.
Yeah. I don't know who else it would be though. At this point. Yeah. Oh, I love this part. So it's Drea, John, Hai, and Omer. And Drea admits right before Chanel comes up to them to break it up that she has the extra vote.
Yes.
To kind of like get Omer in on her side. I was like, oh, this is good. This is a good move.
I think that we've seen, like, I can't think of many instances where an extra vote was a big thing at tribal council or like that was the deciding factor. So I think that using an extra vote or even a steal a vote as a way to bring allies in, because I feel like the perception of an extra vote is way more powerful than the power really is. So I think it's a really good way to bring in allies and make them loyal to you.
That is a great way to say it, Colin. And if we can all walk away with some knowledge earned from this episode, it is exactly what Colin just said, because in reality, an extra vote is kind of shitty. Mm-hmm. It's a steal a vote's good. Extra vote is not always useful. Right. Usually not.
Right. I mean, because usually we're looking at like a 7-2 vote or something like that. It's not usually where it's going to be that close. And even if it is that close, it helps you in this one vote. But then after that, you're kind of it's still just scraping you by through one vote.
So yeah, I mean, the second you could use an extra vote, I feel like you should, unless it's like you, Colin, where it's like this perceived idea of it maybe being used on somebody else, which is like that old school, like the way Yule played with his idol, or
Right.
like some other players, where it's like it's for the group. That just absolutely seems like the best strategy for an extra vote. So yay. Thanks, Colin, for some knowledge there. It's a good strat. If I ever get an extra vote in a game, that's how I'm going to use it.
Perfect. There you go.
I'm going to be like, it's for you, and you.
Now, if it doesn't go well, this is just advice. But if it goes well, this was a great tip of mine.
So my favorite part of this whole moment is not even this part of Drea, because I just love Drea to death. But it's when Chanel comes up and then they decide to go spearfishing. Chanel turns around and walks away with two of them. And they said they're going spearfishing. Drea literally sits her ass back down on the beach.
She moves 4 feet.
Dude, she gives no shits.
Yeah.
She does not care. She's just like, okay, I'm not going to even, it's a lie. She just sits down.
Like, do I look like I'm not going spearfishing? Like, Jonathan's right here. I'm not the spearfisher. Why would I do this?
Yeah. She's just like, no interest in talking to you, Chanel. Also, there's a couple other conversations that happened really quick. There's the Lydia Marianne grandma name alliance.
Yes. That was my favorite of all the Marianne conversations in this one.
Me too. We will not live to see the grandma alliance move on. But we also saw Hai and John kind of bonding as well. We saw a lot of Hai this episode for sure. But their conversation was all about love. They love everybody. Did you notice that? They were like, I love Rockstar. I love this person.
I did not.
They just loved everybody. I was like, okay. All's fair in love in Survivor.
Exactly, yeah.
That should have been the episode title, I think.
Yeah, especially with all the conversations about love, definitely.
Okay. So it's approximately an hour and 20 minutes into the episode, and we are at immunity. Roxroy comes back, and this is where he delivers the fatal news that's going to just disappoint half of the remaining players of the game.
And especially one of them.
Oh, yeah. That hug from Tori is gone. It no longer matters.
No, not getting another hug.
This is personal for Tori because they gave him the island of exile.
This was a gift.
It was the best thing for you, Roxroy. He likes shelter and fire, just like she said at the and it made Marianne laugh so hard for some reason. But that's all he does. He spends his time doing that. So this is a gift, and then she is pissed off.
Oh yeah.
But then she harnesses that anger, and I don't think it drops once.
I don't think it did.
That's somebody to look out for. I hate to say it, but in these modern Survivor challenges, it's like, how long can you balance a ball on a thing? How long can you hold a wobbly platform up? How can you use your feet to put a block on something? Like it's I don't know. I feel like people that are good at staying steady are your biggest threats in modern Survivor immunity challenges or individual.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that Tori's going to need to hope, in my opinion, that a lot of those are going to be the next couple of ones. I think she's going to be in a lot of trouble in the next time she is not immune. I mean, while she was going through that whole thing with Roxroy there, we saw a lot of the people on the now safe tribe with Mike and Omer talking about like, she's really burying herself here. She's really not doing herself any favors with this. That I think it would have been a pretty easy vote had she not won. And I am we had a very interesting tribal of who was going to go home this time. Next time Tori is not safe, I am not expecting that to be the case.
Oh, no. Who's going to keep her? I mean, Drea? No,
I think Drea's going to be the first one to do it.
Yeah, I think so too. Maybe Chanel could use a number.
And then maybe I don't know what the Omer tribe, like that Omer, Jonathan, Lindsay, that trio really wants to do, but are they going to push super hard to save Tori? I'm not so sure.
Here's my question before we get to the final tribal. How did Hai vote at tribal council?
Hai voted for Lydia.
Oh,
I voted for Lydia.
oh my gosh. So when the votes were coming out, I was looking at Dustin going, it's once we see 4, this is confirmed because we know Omer doesn't have a vote. So we could easily see Taku as 3 vote together and then get blindsided here. But the second we have somebody else vote for Lydia, I think it's like, I can't believe Hai. I'm really surprised.
I know. I was surprised as well.
So the amulets, how did Drea vote?
Drea also voted for Lydia. Yeah.
It's the Amulet Alliance.
Everyone that was in that like group of 8 that they talked about, they all voted for Lydia plus Marianne. So that's Jonathan, Lindsay, Marianne, Hai, Mike, and Drea all voted for Lydia.
So there were 11 votes cast, right?
There were 11 votes. Yep.
Okay.
So that was 6. It was 6 votes for Lydia.
Wow. So 6 votes for Lydia, but there were 8 people in that group. Who was the 8th? So we know Omer didn't vote.
Omer didn't vote, and Lydia. Lydia was the 8th person in that group.
Oh, oof.
They voted out Lydia because she was going to turn against the 8. So they turned against the 8.
I saw this as like such an easy, like there's three Taku right here. Maybe it's the time to take out one of the Taku. It might be an easy person to take out. Lydia became that target. It's so interesting too, because I think we're pretty much there. Tori dominates immunity. Literally everybody drops multiple times, and she's so steady. Super earned it, Tori. Good for you. Awesome.
100%.
Yeah. And then it's us back at camp, and there's a lot happening. I love John coming up to Omer, and he's like, "Help me."
He's like, "I need your help now. We talked about this. Like, I was going to get you through the pre-merge, but now it's your turn."
Yeah, and like, oh man, there's so much that happens, guys. This is probably my favorite part of the episode because it is moving and shaking. Romeo wants Jonathan gone big time, and Romeo he's legit. He's like, I want control.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think he saw that, okay, I was on, before I was out to save myself. So I don't care who's going home. I just wanted to save myself. But now that I have the safety, I want to pick who goes home. I'm safe anyway. So I want to be able to have control and see who goes home. So it was an interesting reversal. I feel like we had that conversation between Hai and Romeo earlier. And I feel like this was almost the reversal of it, where before the challenge, Hai was really controlling things and we didn't see much of Romeo. And then after the challenge, it kind of flipped that we saw Romeo really trying to take control with Hai kind of more taking a back seat. Oh,
I love this quote. Kind of, it's funny. This could have been a better David versus Goliath cast than the actual.
He belonged on that Goliath cast. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely does. And there's some definite more Davids or perceived Davids if you perceive them as smaller people. That doesn't mean Goliath was a giant. Okay, metaphors on Survivor.
It's always a stretch. Yeah.
Yeah. Marianne finds out that she's being a target as well. She's crying in her confessional. We get a little realness there. Some of her youth and just being naivety about the game, I think. There's just so much happening. Did you notice the conversation with Lydia and Omer, which is really what I think triggers the rest of this episode?
Yeah, I did. And then it went like a completely different direction than I was expecting. I thought that this was going to be like Omer kind of like passing in, like, okay, I'm going to give in here. And that is not the direction he chose to go.
Yeah, I actually wrote down this. I wrote, Lydia seems cagey.
Right. Yep. I thought it was interesting that like we were only seeing this from Lydia's perspective, because prior to this episode, it was always, we were looking at this from Hai's perspective and Lydia just kind of goes along with it. And this episode was a lot more focused on Lydia.
And at this moment, Omer just dominates like the confessional. Right. Like it's literally his voiceover. And we're watching, I think, him in 3 different conversations. Granted, it's all Taku members. So I was very suspect of this strategy actually working. Mm-hmm. But he goes up to all of them and he's like, he's completely doing this BS strategy that I've seen players do before, but it works for him, which is the vote has changed, Colin. It's Lydia and one person you were thinking of, right? But not one of the people you were thinking of prior to this. But that is not the case. Omer has not made this happen yet, but he's positing, like, I mean, I felt like it was coming across like super true.
Right. Yeah, if you're confident enough, they're just going to believe it. That's just the way it works.
And it voila, it works. I mean, it's crazy. Like, he gets everybody to switch and vote out one of their own alliance of 8 that they just created, which is funny that Drea makes that point too to Marianne at Tribal Council. Like, I don't see the game the same way that you do. Like, this is more fluid for me.
Right. I think my favorite conversation in this whole lead up to Tribal Council is you have all this going on with Omer trying to flip the vote here. And then you see a quick conversation, it's very quick, between Jonathan and Tori, where Tori just says, well, I want to keep winning immunity challenges. And I think you're the one that's going to really stop me from doing that. So why wouldn't I vote for you? And that's really all we see of the entire conversation. So I just love that kind of just like came out of nowhere.
Yeah. And she's the winner.
Right.
And she's looking at Jonathan being like, you're going to beat me. He was just playing against you, Tori.
Right.
He was not in second place at the end of that challenge.
No.
He like at a point he was, but then he was knocked out. And then it was like, who, Marianne or
Lindsay was in it for a bit. Then Lindsay fell, and then Marianne. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was clearly Tori's challenge to lose at that point. She just had to go as slow as possible. Don't move. It seemed like she had a slightly different strategy, or at least it seemed like her rope was up very high to me.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a trick.
It was on more of a slant, it seemed like, rather than trying. I think a lot of people tried to keep it steady, where she said, okay, it's not going to be steady, so I'm going to have it be a little bit slanted and account for that.
Yeah, that was that moment where she's like telling Jonathan, like, I need to vote you out. It gave me like Susie vibes from Gabon.
Gabon. Yep, I could see it. Not necessarily a player you want to emulate, but she made it far.
She almost won.
She almost won.
She was like, what, one vote off?
One vote away, yeah.
Oh, damn Randy. Oh, man. So we're pretty much at Tribal Council, folks. Omer says at the start, he gets everybody laughing, which I think is a good way to start Tribal Council. This is a cue for people to take. Can you get everybody to just chuckle for a second? But he says, everyone said at camp, let's go get firewood. And we still have no firewood at the end of the day.
Yeah. Not following Roxroy's number 1 rule of, if you think you have enough firewood, double it. They are not following it currently.
Well, maybe if Roxroy was following, his own rule, and because there was 0, the percentage would still be 0.
Yeah.
So he did. So Roxroy would doubled it.
Yeah. Tripled it, in fact.
Yeah, exactly. He's just killing it this episode. This is the part of the I actually got a little bit annoyed with Hai, because he kept I felt like regurgitating Tribal Council quotes. I know that we've been through like 5,000 Tribal Councils in the history of Survivor, and there's only so many ways you can say the grass is always greener on the other side of the my back is against the wall. I threw him under the bus. I get it, folks. But he said, so he pulled out the drivers and passengers thing. We just heard that in Survivor Winners at War. It was literally like, are you the passenger or are you the pilot?
Right.
It's not even, I don't know. It's totally for Jeff.
It's totally for Jeff. He knows what Jeff wants to hear.
Yeah. And he definitely was giving him the quotes that he needed.
Right. Yeah. And I think Hai knew going in that this is going to be a big Tribal Council for me, considering what name I'm about to put down.
There was a lot of talk about people being fearful and inauthentic. And I kept trying to figure out, who are they referring to here? Are they referring to themselves, or are they particularly targeting a person? And I kept going back to the Romeo moment. I don't know. That's the only thing I could really connect to.
Yeah, I don't know who, if there was anyone in particular. I wonder if they were just coming up with an excuse to say okay, well, this is why we want to vote someone out. It's not because we don't trust them. It's for whatever reason.
Because I don't think that is Lydia. In other words, she seems like she knows who she is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think I would have described anyone in there as fearful or inauthentic based off of what we've seen.
True.
Yeah.
We had the Beetle come visit. Who was it? Mike Roxroy.
Roxroy. It scared Marianne, and then it just landed on Roxroy, and he seemed to not really care if it was there or not.
But other than that, I mean, it seemed like a pretty straightforward tribal. I mean, we don't get any advantages played. We don't get any idols played, which is surprising. There's so many extra votes. Omer finally has a vote now.
Yes, he's back.
He's back in the game.
Yeah. He controlled this vote without having one of his own.
Who do you think would have been voted out given Roxroy doesn't smash the hourglass? Let's go back to the...
Yep. So Roxroy does not smash the hourglass.
Do you think it's Chanel?
I think Chanel. I think Chanel's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Unless she wins that challenge. I think it would have been Chanel here.
Yeah, I think so too. So it's tough to say if Tori and Chanel can even get themselves out of this.
Right.
I
think that one of them might be able to. I will be very surprised if one of them is not voted out next episode, and then whoever is left might be able to make a run at this and kind of be that GOAT that we were talking about. But I'm not expecting both of them to be around much longer.
That's true. One of them is a lot less threatening in the sense of like you could just pick up one vote, and what is just one vote to makes a bigger difference in this game. But yeah, it's I could see that too. I could see one of them being taken a lot further after another one is potentially gone. For a second, I was thinking Omer. But you're right. With everybody getting to vote, he definitely would have been. His game seemed to be on at this point in the game. Like he accelerated his game. He's in the driver's seat, not the passenger seat. I think Hai thought he was. It's a weird quote from Hai, because is Hai a passenger or a driver in this situation?
I think in this situation, I mean, I don't think there's any way with Lydia going home that Hai is the driver. Yeah. I think for this vote, he is the passenger.
But he voted for it. So Colin, do you want to break down how the votes went down at Tribal?
Absolutely. So we've got the votes for Lydia were Hai, Jonathan, Marianne. Are you able to move them around? Oh, nice.
I can, yeah.
Yep. Hai, Jonathan, Marianne. We can keep Drea there.
Okay.
Lindsay and Mike. Then the votes for Jonathan were the two we keep talking about. Tori and Chanel voted for Jonathan. The two votes for Marianne were Romeo and Lydia. And then Roxroy was the sole Lindsay vote that I don't really know where that one came from.
That's so weird.
I feel like this has now been multiple times where Roxroy is just completely out on this vote. That happened with Swati. That happened this time around. I don't know if they just like forget to get with him and tell him what's about to happen, or if what's happening here. I have no idea where this Lindsay vote. I'm guessing that this Lindsay vote was some sort of planned vote split, but I don't know. I feel like the votes would have been split between Jonathan and Marianne. I don't know why we need a third person.
Yeah, it seems like, but I guess people might be very concerned of
all these
powers. I mean, everybody has a shot in the dark still in the game, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
maybe.
I mean, maybe they're concerned of that. I mean, the shot in the dark is actually only scary if 6 people want to use it one round. Also, has anybody asked this question yet? What if 7 people want to use it? Is it always 1 in 6?
I think it's always 1 in 6. I feel like, I don't know, that's never been clarified, but I feel like it's just always 1 in 6.
Okay, so they just refill it. So if like
I would guess so,
the first person goes up to vote, they use their thing, then they just put in. Oh my gosh. So everybody could use their shot in the dark, and theoretically there could be no votes and nobody's safe. So then Jeff Probst would be like, okay, let's revote.
Yeah, nobody can use shot in the dark anymore.
I don't like that twist when that happened where it was a 0-0 vote and then they had to revote. I don't know. I don't think they should get a free pass, but maybe like a double boot episode. Oh, Colin, speaking of,
Yes.
they took 2 episodes, put it into one. Do you think we're going to get a double boot episode coming down the line or an episode without an elimination? I'm just trying to figure out how they're going to balance this out. Or is this balanced out with the fact that Jackson was medevaced in episode 1? It just seems like there's more episodes than people left.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many episodes there are. I can't imagine they're going to do an episode without an elimination. But I think I don't. Let's see. There's a lot of people left. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I would not be surprised if there is some sort of a double elimination episode at some point. But I mean, I feel like they would really struggle to make that into 1 hour. So it'd have to be another 2-hour block, which I feel like. I think the premiere was 2 hours. This one is 2 hours. To have another 2 hour plus the finale, that would be a lot of. That's a lot.
Oh, I'm here for it. I would love it. Please, please, please. I just felt like this episode, I don't remember if I said it here or before the podcast started, but I loved being able to really see all of the different choices and different paths. And so many times they try to hide it from us, but we literally saw Omer save Jonathan, save Marianne, and get Lydia out of this game and get Lydia's number 1 ally to vote her out. I mean, I think that is substantially amazing gameplay.
It is, absolutely. I mean, I think everyone should now be very concerned about the Taku 3/4. The fact that Jonathan is as big of a threat as he is, and he has 2 allies in Omer and Lindsay who are willing to stand up and try and get people on his side as much as they did, where I think that Lindsay did a little bit that we saw, and then Omer did a lot of the brunt work afterwards. To be able to go up and stand, that he's got this great physical game that I still think that if there's some of these challenges that are just standing there and holding on to something, I think he's a definite threat to win that unless there is some sort of puzzle, I do think that he is one of the top contenders to win just about any challenge. Plus, he's got this great social game of people who Omer seems to have good strategy, really was able to connect with people. I feel like prior to this episode, I've been very high on Lindsay as a player. I think she's done a really good job in connecting a lot with the people over there. I feel like she's almost been like the centerpiece of that Taku tribe. That's a really powerful trio. Plus, Marianne is a good player in her own right and has 2 advantages of her own.
Out of all of these players left, I feel like I agree with you with everything you said, and I also feel like Lindsay is the most under-edited of all of these players at this point, and that was showed to be a great thing for Erica.
Yeah, definitely.
So I that's the vibe I keep getting is they keep hiding her, and we literally saw the 3 people with the stupid amulet power stick together this round. I mean, could that go on for a couple more rounds potentially?
I mean, I think we said that Hai was questionable going in. It was more of like, well, if it's convenient for me, I will. He just lost Lydia here. He's really looking at like, okay, Mike is my ally. I'm really not having anyone else I feel super great about. I think I would not be surprised if Hai starts to lean very heavily on Drea and Lindsay in this Amulet Alliance.
I can't wait to see what happens. I'm going to update our peeps at home with the Live Reality Games draft. Brody is in first place with 22 points. I don't think anybody's going to catch up to him, but I don't know. He has Tori, and she just keeps squeaking by. Like, we thought she was going to be gone forever ago. We thought she was going to get a Beware advantage. I mean, all of our expectations have been wrong. And then Jillian, from another reference to Gabon, is at 21 points. Way to go, Jillian. That's awesome. Also, just a shout out for her. Reality Rally is coming up in a few weeks. That's one of the biggest charities that does LRG type events. You can meet a ton of live reality show celebrities there, and you get to play the Amazing Race or their version of Amazing Race with a celebrity on your team, which is so cool for the super fans. So who do you think's who do you think is going to be the winner, Colin? Who is like, or who's your top few picks?
I'm going to stick with Lindsay as one of my top ones there. Mike really impressed me, so I'm going to throw Mike into the mix here, and I'm gonna make it as a 3 of. I'm really questioning Hai after this one, so I'm going to put Drea in there. So I'll go with Drea, Mike, and Lindsay. I think that gives me one of each of the tribes as well. So that nice balance there. So Drea, Mike, and Lindsay are my top 3.
Excellent. I would definitely give you Drea as well. She's one of my top picks. I actually would have picked her on this draft, but when we had the option to do a second pick where we could pick another name, we all decided we didn't want to like triple up. I don't know why we were allowed to. So I should have picked Drea, but I didn't. I'm still kicking myself for that, but yeah, I would put Drea up there for sure. I love Omar's gameplay this episode, but I think it's going to put too much of a target on him potentially because it was way out there in the open. Hai as well. He just lost a number. Not Tori, not Romeo, not Chanel. I don't know. Rox and Mike. Rox really changed tonight for me. And Mike, I just love. So I'm going to put Mike up there as well. I don't know if you can let somebody as nice as Mike get to Final Four. I mean, that's scary. Jonathan has so much potential. I still feel like he's going to be taken out at some point.
Great.
And I would say either Marianne or Lindsay. I think one of them is going to get deep.
Yep.
Cool. Do you think we missed anything? Or any other big things from the episode?
I don't think so. Well, I mean, I think we both have been pretty staunch on our opinion that either Tori or Chanel is probably going to be the boot next week. So I think that would be the only other big discussion would be what's going to happen next time. It's
got to be. I can't think of many other scenarios unless it turns into, like we said, we're worried of Taku.
Yep, Taku would be the only with either take a shot at Jonathan or something gets caught up with Omer there. I think even if it is there, I don't think that Lindsay or Marianne would be the votes there. I think it'd be one of the two guys that would be.
I think so too. I agree with you. The only way Lindsay becomes a target is if they get the bounty on her head for the amulet becomes too tempting at this point to maybe take one out, because Steal a Vote might not be great right now, but in a few rounds it's going to be really great. Right. And I think they can use the amulet until Final 6, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Yeah, and I think especially like if Jonathan were to win an immunity and to take him out of the running, then that would hurt Lindsay as well, to say, okay, if they wanted to take a shot at the biggest, because I do believe she is the biggest challenge competitor, the second biggest challenge competitor of that Taku 4.
Oh, our buddy Snyder runs the Maverick Cup Series, or he's in the Maverick Cup Series, and his car has had the Live Reality Games logo on it. I forget what placement he got this week. I think it was 17th place, and it's his first time like placing in it. So super cool, dude. And thank you again for putting our logo on it. I mean, we're just this teeny tiny channel here, and it's so cool to like have that out there.
Absolutely.
And this dude, he even sent me a birthday card last week.
Okay,
how crazy. Also, by the way, to everybody who came out last week for my birthday podcast that I didn't know was a birthday podcast, that meant so much. But this was way easier, Colin.
Good.
This was like an actual conversation. I felt like I missed everything last week because it was just rando people. Like, I don't know if you saw it, but Kathy Sleckman was here from Micronesia.
I did, yeah. I skipped it. I did see that Kathy Sleckman. And I think Jillian also made an appearance.
Yeah, totally. Yep. And then I completely spoiled the episode. I told Jillian like the end result and then felt like an asshole. And then Kathy is here like having drinks and I'm just wanting to like listen to stories about Micronesia and party with her and not talk at all about the recap. So nobody ever gets to hear from Kathy either. So I felt like we really got like
that's like a good one. Yeah.
It was a breakthrough moment. It was like, yeah, she's on a podcast, people. So if there's anyone to check that one out, folks. Next week, I took down my notes. Next week is Survivor Buffalo. And there is I was supposed to be directing a play next week. So we have Cam stepping in to host for us, but I actually might not be busy. So I could still pop in, but Cam's doing it for us. So maybe I should just take the week off. But that said, it's going to be another great week. Colin, thank you so much for joining us. It was a blast to hang out with you.
This was great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And Till next time, folks. We'll see you soon.